Of course, what is the lesson we have learned collectively in Europe? Basically three. The first one is that we are interdependent. It's not just in a common sense. Now we saw the crisis in Greece, with 10 million people, 2% of Eurozone GDP, so it's a small economy, opened the possibility of a major crisis in Europe and even at the global level. So first lesson is that we are interdependent, certainly within the Europe. The second one is the response is more Europe. Of course, this is my job to promote Europe, but this has been the feeling is to have more Europe and not less Europe. That's why we went for the banking union. So rather than going back and say, no, we should remain at the national level, we said, no, we need a system which is more put common responsibility in a single place at the EU level. And the banking union is one of those response. A third one, already mentioned, we need more economic coordination. We cannot, as a 28 member state, believe that we have a single currency but completely different economic policy. And I go for an expansionary measures, or I go on austerity measures, and we go completely different direction. We need to go in the same direction. Part of the tension you might read in Europe, the two parties, the growth party against the austerity party, is not others than there's a tension among us on which it will be the best policy that we need to adopt to go further. So what is the economic outlook? So it was my first part of my conversation was from where we came from in the last 4 years. What happened in the last 4 years? So what is the scenario now, and what the new leadership should do? If we look at the scenario, we see that the economic recovery, which is taking place in Europe, is not happening as fast and as strongly as we have expected after the 2012, when the market regained confidence in Europe. If you make a comparison with what happened in the United States, they had the Lehman Brothers in October 2008, and in 2012, when there was the first was the reconfirm of the President Obama mandate, which was the vote was in November 2012. The economy has just started to grow. Maybe those of you might remember that the American index were every month looking, is Obama policies helping the economy to bring back or not. And in the July 2012, the American economy started to pick up again. And President Obama was re-elected on the assumption that the economy was growing back. For us, the process is proved to be much longer and much more complicated. So we stopped the financial crisis in 2012. The market trusted us. But 2 years later, we are still on a modest growth, which is not enough for us. Is not as critical as it might be seen reading the newspaper, because Europe is very complex and very differences. If we look at the third quarter of 2014, this year, which means July, September, the growth is 1.3% on average. But of course, you have some countries who grow more and others who grow less. Average is 1.3. If you look at the news on Greece, you think everything is going bad. If you look at Germany, you think everyone is good. So it's not true neither in the Greek case nor in the German case, but on average we are on 1.3%, and we expect to go 1.5% next year. The labor market condition, I said, are improving slightly. Our unemployment on average in Europe is still at 10.1%. I think it's the double more or less than New Zealand. but in March we were 10.5, so we gained 0.4 of new employment in the last 4 months, which is almost 500,000 new employment, but it's not enough. No, we need to go. But what we want to say is that the direction is we are going the right direction, but as I said, very too slowly for what we would expect. Third point is inflation. We have experimented a prolonged low inflation. It's not deflation, it's low inflation. The annual average rate is for October is 0.5%. We expect to pick up at the end of the year 0.7 and 1.2 in 2015. In addition to this is what is the usual economic outlook, and you look at in any publication on the European Commission or the IMF. In addition to this photograph, there's political difficulties in the member states, because the member states have to deliver structural reform. Tell your citizen you have to increase the retirement age, or if they have to pay more for education, pay more for health, or they have to work more, or increase the productivity, create, of course, a lot of resistance everywhere. I mean, there's no, in any part of latitude. I came from Canberra, where the government is trying to implement a tough budget, and the resistance are everywhere. And the second point is also the external elements. You know, there's vulnerability in some emerging markets. In Europe, there's some tension on our eastern borders in Ukraine. We have also the traditional supplier of resources, Libya, for example, in trouble as well. So these external elements add difficulties to the picture. So what is the new leadership need to be done? Need to be to deliver growth, nothing else than growth. But we have certainly the political support. You might have read also here around May the election for the European Parliament, big rise of Euroscepticism. But 70% of the forces who are in the European Parliament are pro-Europe. So we have Europe has a majority to legislate. There's no gridlock. Certainly is a bell for collective leadership to remember that citizens expect Europe to be a place where economy pick up again, where people find a good job. And I think also it's been reflected at the EU level, and the Commission has just presented a new package of 300 billion of extra investments to stimulate the economy, and it will be discussed already at the beginning of December in Brussels. So this is my first 2 points. First one, where we will come from, and right now what is the direction for the new leadership. And last but not least, where the relation between EU and New Zealand stands in this scenario. So still, Europe is by far the biggest aggregated economy. It's 13 trillion euro per year. That makes bigger than US, much bigger than China, and is also the biggest trade bloc, around 16% of the global trade. And we were very happy that at the last summit in Brisbane, the G20, we committed as a EU, but as a New Zealand also was an invited country to the summit in Brisbane, so it was a commitment that everybody took, that we have to deliver growth for the next year. And we also even a percentage in the communique of the G20. We say, the leader said that in the next 5 years we have to boost growth by 2.1%, which is $2 trillion. That create millions of jobs. And the European Union, our agenda is the G20 agenda. We are making reform in Europe to deliver growth for us, for Europeans, but also the benefits for the others.